So we're going to talk about tracking today. So we kind of continue our discussion on optical flow. I guess it's a logical kind of step links. So so for like optical flow, you see like we're only tracking kind of like pixels in the screen, or like we target particular pixels. Like, but here tracking like we kind of like want to track a particular object, or like at least we approximate position of that object. So if we have maybe I will try to track let's see, like this car here, just trying to as it goes, we just try to track the motion there. Of course, you can use optical flow as well. Like then you will try to track like each of the kind of pixel in the car there. But we're going to talk about something. Actually, we'll specifically talk about one algorithm. It's an extension of the work of like Carter and Lucas. Like it's like called KLT tracking. It's like Carter, Lucas, and one of his students at that time, Tomashi. So this is another example. Like this is like a multi-object tracking problem. This is actually much more difficult. So when you have like many, the difficulty there is like you see like this one is not perfect at all. So you have this number, it's like, I guess this 2 is called a curve, okay. But sometimes you just have like, when you have like two objects like move close to one another, you will just kind of like just misclassify like one object from the other one. So misidentify that object as the other target. So this is actually a pretty difficult problem. It's, in a sense, it's like actually not perfectly solved yet, so it's kind of open still. So this is another example that like, so actually this is like several examples. It's all showing that we are tracking with like a steady camera. So when there's no, the camera just put steady there, like the problem is a little bit, actually it's quite a bit easier. So, and you can also have a scene, it's like the camera is moving itself, and like tracking is quite more difficult. So another interesting application can be like you have so-called re-identification. So you're not just having one camera, but you have multiple cameras. For example, I have kind of camera here, and I have a camera in the corridor, and so on. So you can track one person, keep tracking that. Then when you move to the other camera, you want to re-identify that person. So then you know that, oh, okay, like this person is that person. Okay, of course, one application is 1984. The other application is like just maybe cloud control, or like then it's called 1984 as well. But something like you just want to maybe track the traffic, like how many people is moving in that direction and so on. So there's lots of challenges for feature trackings. So actually, you can imagine some of them already. Like, for example, when we are doing that optical flow, we kind of assume that like there's some, of course, like that when we kind of assume the byte list is the same. So, but in general, for example, if you're an object, then you have the boundary of that object. Then, of course, the byte list will change. Or if you are trying to track using a template, basically, let's say at one frame, I know kind of the object, like for example, the bottle is like, I should show something that, for example, like this one will be an example that like, right before it kind of like do the flip, if you think of like having a template here, then the person here doesn't change much, right? It's kind of like rigid object, but when it flip, it did the rotation there, it just looks different from the previous frame. So then we need to deal with this kind of rotation. For example, this kind of rotation or all kind of different warping potential transforms. So challenges and of course, occlusion may occur, as I mentioned. That, like for example, if you're doing multiple object tracking, you can have one person now is moving in front of the other person, then suddenly like you don't know who is who, stuff like that. So there's actually two main methods for tracking. Like of course, it's all based on like typically trying to get features of that object and then keep tracking those features. One possible feature is like we have studied in the past, for example, we can use sieve and so on, right? Pick the object and get the sieve feature on that object and then try to keep track of those features there. And other approach that I will discuss today is like using a template. So you're trying to check the kind of like what you're seeing, the whole template, template in the sense like, for example, if I have that particular car here, I can just have a bounding box like, for that car and just keep checking the bounding box for that car. But of course, as I mentioned, if you do a rotation, for example, this one here is pretty easy to check because it's like looks the same for all the frames. But if you have like a person or like that one doing a flip, then like, it will be much more difficult. So then, or I should say, like I need to do something about it. I cannot just keep a simple template. So so I have more kind of cool example here. Maybe I will just show some more. I don't know why this gets stuck, this video here. So, but anyway, this is actually a SLAM example. This one, this video is supposed to show that like the robot is moving along the corridor. Okay, it's still not showing up yet. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, but this one, the map, at least the map is showing. So as it moves along the corridor, it's doing the SLAM thing, doing both the localization and mapping. So of course, in that case, it's basically tracking everything in the surrounding and then try to build a 3D map there. And I'm going to talk about KLT like today. Like this is the KLT tracker. Actually, KLT is just, as I said, like it's an extension of the Lucas-Carter algorithm in optical flow. And so I guess I'll skip that. This is a fun demo that probably I will just illustration also. So this tracking like mixed with some 3D information also like track and at the same time trying to build the get the 3D information and approximate the normal of that vector, just plot out the normal vectors. So okay, I will go into the main thing today is I'm going to talk more detail with the KLT algorithm. So let's see if I have the slides there. No, this is not the slide. Oh, wait a second. Why I kept that? Maybe I don't even have it. Oh wait, where is it? What's the name of that? Let me go to. What's the name of my file there? Lucas-Carter tracker. Okay. So yeah, I'm wearing this mask because I just have running nose today, but just to be safe, I know like it's not effective to actually it's protecting you guys, but not. But I heard more like horrible news. Like of course I have like someone like get recovered and a week later on die, stuff like that. Yeah. So yeah, so just to be careful, like. And actually, like lots of Asian, I listened to radio like back in Hong Kong, and they mentioned like some guys in New York, and they were just terrified, like seeing like how people is handling here, that like they have two corpses there, two bodies there, but the medical like workers didn't wear any car protection gears when they handle them, so. I guess it most likely it won't kill you because it's 98% of the chance it won't kill you, but okay, anyway, so as I said, like this is like a work by Carter and Lucas, and also like Carter is actually the professor at that time, like and also Tamashi. I think like it's quite maybe I'll just get pretty much into because we have been talking about this optical flow. I guess at this moment you are quite kind of have a good idea like what this kind of algorithm is supposed to be like. But so basically like remember what we have in Lucas Canada. Basically like we have optical flow. We try to track each of the kind of pixels there in the image. Now here what we are trying to do is that we try to kind of track a template. So you think of like if I have two images, so I have one image here, I have here. So I want to see like what does it look like in the next image, right? So it kind of move. So you can think of like, for example, like I have a template here, I have just one image here, like image here. So I have a window and I somehow, maybe I call this, I call this, what I can do is I can call this T, just use the same notation. So T stands for template. So what I'm going to do is I try to warp this image here, maybe just this box here. So how do I warp this? So think of this as a kind of like an image. So the image, what does image mean? Image is just a function of the pixel values, right? Or the function of the pixels, where pixels are the coordinate, or the function of the coordinates, where the coordinates are the index, right? So I have coordinates here x. So what I'm going to do is if I have a warping function, I call it W here. If I warp the coordinates there, so this will, after I warp this, then will become a kind of like originally maybe I should draw it a little bit better. What I want to say is maybe originally I have square box here, right? In the next frame there, this one, so become maybe something like that, right? So what I did is my warping function here will warp, for example, this pixel to this pixel, right? And then this pixel to this pixel and so on, right? This coordinate to this coordinate. And this warping function here, of course, it can vary like everywhere. So what I want to do is I will have a model of warping functions. It's not just one warping function, it's actually many warping functions, but it can be parameterized by some parameters. Let's call the parameter P here. So I have the warping function is parameterized by some parameter P. In general, P can be more than one parameter. It can be a vector, can be a vector P here. So then basically what I want is therefore like this I, W, X, P here is close to this Tx here, right? And I can say what I'm trying to do is I can just minimize this thing. Okay, think of this, I'm trying to minimize that. And so you see the difference from optical flow there is that in optical flow, I'm just warping like per pixel. Like for each of the pixel here, I try to have just a simple translation basically. Here, I'm looking for a window, something like a pad there, and then I have a warping function. And then, so of course, then if you look at it this way, this is a generalization of that Lucas-Canada algorithm or this kind of optical flow algorithm. So is that clear up to this point? So then our problem now is just trying to solve this, how we are going to find this parameter P. So we can fix a model. Like for example, like our model can be just like optical flow can be just a translation. Then my WXP here, for example, can be equal to maybe x plus t, or maybe I write like that, x plus tx, y plus ty. So this is the translation at the y coordinate and the translation as the x coordinate. So where this x now is actually just x and y. And the parameter now is just basically tx and ty, right? Something like that. And I can have, for example, another example, give you another example, basically, maybe I can have not just like translation, but also rotation. Then my wxp, maybe my p here can have translation tx and also ty, and also have a rotation parameter theta. Let's say rotate by theta degree here. Then my x then I will be let's see. Let's do the rotation first. Then x cosine theta plus y sine theta. I think it's minus. Yeah, minus y sine theta plus tx. So it's hard to see. And then the second one can be like y. Let's see. I think it's like x sine theta. Y cosine theta plus ty, say. And I can have all kind of transform. So look, this KLT algorithm doesn't restrict you like what kind of model you use. It's general that like whatever model, I don't care, but it can be any model. But so if I fix the model is like, I mean model in the sense the warping model, and the warping model is as long as parameterized by some parameter p, then I know how to proceed. So then so this is like an example, like all these kind of possible models here. So we don't, I won't go into this. So we will get into like the core part here. So this part is okay. I probably don't even need this. So this is just a Taylor series expansion that I prepared this because so these slides I prepare like some other time. So actually, like I think we have repeated this many times. So I guess I can skip this. This is just like when a scalar function I try to and maybe I will talk a little bit anyway. So if I have a scalar function here, or maybe like I have scalar function here. And my I have the argument is a vector, so argument is vector. It's basically like that. Then if I kind of like shift my argument by delta x here, then my first order Taylor series expansion will be just like this, right? Okay, it's just take the partial derivative of this f1 with respect to x1, and then I add whatever the location we are, like x naught expanded x naught, multiplied by delta x1, and so on and so forth. So this is for scalar, right? If my function is actually a vector itself, so for example, if my function here is like this, then the function itself, then you look at that, this is like, for each of the component, I can also expand even this Taylor series expansion, right? So then actually I can group them, right? I can group them in the sense that I have f x plus delta x. So all of these are now vector now. Also I can write as maybe I put an x naught here. Write as f x naught plus kind of like first order derivative or something multiplied by a delta x, right? So it's similar to this guy. So but what will it be this? Like, okay, first of all, say like here my dimension of this vector function is m, right? You see like f is equal to f1, f2, so on up to mx. So this is like m by 1. And then my argument here, x have a dimension of n, let's say, so we say n by 1. So, okay, what's the dimension of this guy here? This derivative thing here. Huh? Not the dimension won't fit if I put this n minus 1. So let's say if I have n minus 1, so here m, right? So I should have, and this again like delta x, because like the argument is have a dimension m plus 1. Sorry, n by 1 here. So this like delta x is also n by 1. So and also my f here like f x dot here is n by 1. So somehow like I need this guy, so therefore this guy should be a matrix, right? Because I should have this guy multiplied by this, have a dimension n by 1 also, right? Otherwise it doesn't match. Okay? Actually this should be like something like n by n here. And actually you can read the values here even. If I put the whole thing here, so this is actually this fx here, right? And this is actually the f x naught here, right? This big f x naught here. And then I can rearrange these terms like f delta x1 up to delta xn, just move here from this delta x here, vector delta x here. So then like this, actually this matrix is like formed by, if I n by n matrix where the mn coefficient there is basically, or like the coefficient, this matrix like the mn element there is something like partial f mx over partial x and something like that. It's a matrix like that. So something like this. So this is actually, I'm not sure how many of you know. So this is known as the Jacobian. I know Israel is nodding. Like, so do you guys saw that like other classes? Yes. So therefore, like, okay, this is a general. If you have if your function is not just a scalar, if a vector, then in general, if you want to expand it in first order, then you will be like the value you want to expand from plus basically the Jacobian multiplied by the difference that you vary from that the place you want to expand. So so with that, like then like we can try to tackle this. So we have this problem we mentioned earlier, right? So we have this I now is exactly what we have just mentioned earlier. In general, I have this I can be a patch, right? So I have, if I just vectorize the patch. So think of like if I have patch is 5 by 5, let's say. What I'm going to do, I can factorize this patch into just a vector. So it will be like 25 elements there now. And then like my argument there like is also a vector, like because I have like both x and p are basically a vector. So then what I can do now, when I try to solve this, I want to minimize this guy. I want to find the optimum p, right? The optimum p. Let's say I call it p log here. Let's say p log is the optimum such that I will minimize this. And then this is kind of similar to what we did like last time also. So instead of trying to kind of like, if I want to optimize this guy, let's say this is the optimum anyway, then it is what did we do? Yeah, it's similar to when we try to derive the Euler-Lagrange equation, or like Israel told me a lot to do that. That like we can start with somewhere like that's p log, assume it's optimum there. Then for whatever changes for that p log, let's say if I have small changes delta p here, if I look at the difference here, this guy like from tx here, and I take the derivative over delta p here, it goes to 0, right? It's something like, again, if I add a peak here, let's say this whatever function I call it L here, this L function that at the point peak like p log here, I make any changes in any direction, this delta p here, this should give me kind of like the slope there is equal to 0. Right? Yes. So okay, that's what we did. So now once I write this, then I can use my Taylor series expansion I just mentioned like in the last slides, right? So I can expand this guy now into something like this. So it's a little bit looks a little bit complicated. I guess I'll pause a little bit, like just have you guys told me like what are these things here. So so what's the dimension for this guy? Let's say sorry, I need to. This is the Google. I need to turn it off. So okay, what's this? Okay, okay, this is just trying to. This is basically the Jacobian of this guy with respect to p, right? So this is actually, if I try to do the partial derivative of this whole thing here, with lots of stuff inside, with respect with p, right? Where p is a vector here, I here is also kind of a vector. But even though everything is a vector, I can do something like chain rule here. So when I take partial derivative with respect to p, I can first take derivative of I itself. So then I will have like this gradient of I here. Then I take partial derivative of like w with respect to p. So therefore I have two terms here. So I guess if I give you a concrete example, it will be more clear. Let's see if I have show you. So let's say look at this one first. So let's say I just have, like in the optical flow, the w is just like a translation here. So then x, so in this case x is equal to x1 and x2, and p, let's say is like p1 and p2 is the displacements there. Now then if I take the Jacobian of I with respect to p here, I put two partial derivative here. Then, as I mentioned, I itself is a kind of like a function of w and then have p inside, right? Something like that. So then I can first do the derivative with respect to I. So I have the gradient of I here. Transpose that actually hidden here. Then take the partial derivative of w and p here. So just like the partial derivative of w with respect to p is actually you can already see that, but yeah, w is here again, like w is here. So therefore w is like x1 plus p1 and x2 plus p2. So this is a kind of vector. And then I try to take partial derivative with respect to like p1 and p2 to form a Jacobian. So then like I get this, right? So basically, like remember, like in the Jacobian, for each of the term, the nm elements, for example, the first element would be like taken partial derivative of this guy here with respect to p1 here. So therefore I have this one, right? At this corner, this one will be the taking partial derivative of this guy with respect to p2. So therefore I have this one here. So and this one is taking partial derivative of this one with respect to p1. Then I have this one here and so on, right? So if I do that, then like this one is just an identity. You see that partial w, partial p is just an identity. Now then, delta I is just like the partial derivative of I with respect to x, y, so it's just the gradient of that image. So therefore, the overall, this guy is actually just equal to partial I. I mean, the gradient of, because it's just identity, so just equal to this guy here. So, okay, this is the, this is this one here. So as I mentioned, this one, if I consider just translation, is simply just actually equal to like Ix and Iy here. Let's see, I make sure I am correct. Let's see. Yeah. So now, but now let's get back to here. So after we do the expansion, we try to kind of take the derivative here, go to 0. So let's see, take derivative with respect to delta p here. It looks kind of complicated, but if you look at this, this is just something like I can move this together. So I have like IW something something minus TX plus this something times delta P, right? So the whole thing is something like A plus something like B delta P, something like that, right? So then if you take the, have a square of that one, if you take the derivative, basically it's just equal to like 2a plus b delta p times something times b, right? Something like that, right? And b in this case, this guy here, right? So therefore, like it'll be something like this. So this one is b, so kind of like b here, yeah. And then this whole thing is just copied down here like this. Then I want this equal to 0. Then I just want to solve for delta p, let's say. If I solve for delta p, then I just have delta p here, then I'm moving around, then eventually what I get is something like this. So, I mean, like, of course, the equation itself is not important. I think the important part is like, understand the derivation actually, because you can find it out, but what is needed, like for example, if you eventually go for research or like, or even try to read something like, oftentimes like if you're able to derive it yourself, you can verify whether like what the author said is really true, I mean correct or not, right? So it's so anyway, like this thing, as I mentioned, like delta p, so therefore it's just equal to this guy. I can call, and also like I have simplified a little bit, and I have a rather complicated part here. I call it h here. So it looks tedious, but remember like what we want at the beginning, we try to solve P0, right? So it's a little bit weird. Okay, we ended up with delta P here. So what should we do next actually? We said that like, okay, if we have the optimum at P naught here, I move by any delta P, the derivative is equal to 0. And then now after making this assumption and I solve a bunch of stuff, eventually I got like delta P is given by this equation here. So if I now start with a P naught somehow, I know how to find the delta P. So what should I do next? Okay, say that again. Okay, we know the h. Yeah. Yes, we have the h. We even know we know the h. Right, everything actually here is solvable. So delta I here is just the gradient as I mentioned, and this depends on what kind of transform you do. For example, if you are translation, this is just identity matrix. and this is the template image, and this is the current image. So for fixed P naught, everything here is solvable. But then I solvable, and I got this delta P here. So what next? So we kind of assume, we hope delta P to be 0, right? So we hope delta P to be 0. And okay, so what we should really do here afterward is, okay, so actually, maybe we can just update our P with that delta P. So it's supposed to be 0, but it's not 0 yet. If we move P there, like to the new place there, the slope there should go to 0. Well, actually, I didn't show it here. Yeah, but I think like, yeah, I didn't have the slide here, but that's a good thing. I should add it back. So, but actually, like, if I, what delta P is pointing is actually pointing to the minimum location there. So supposing if I add P to delta P there, I should go like, every time we'll go more closer to the minimum there. So what I can do is I make this algorithm an iterative algorithm. So then to summarize what we're going to do is we will just start with like some P, like any kind of P, like parameters there. So then we'll try to solve the delta P, and then we'll update P with like P plus delta P. Then we can repeat this whole procedure again and again. So that's basically it. Let's see. So so this will be just the summary of the entire algorithm, therefore. So I will start with some image. I'm actually, let's say, fixed for some parameter P here that I'm trying to warp that. Actually, from the beginning, I can just have P is equal to 0. For example, if that's basically like, for example, if I'm doing translation, then I would just have like no translation at all. So, and this W, like, what I mean is like at the beginning, WXP will be just equal to X. So it's just no kind of like warping operation applied to your current coordinates. Then after that, like, we can compute try to compute this delta P here. So you see, if I try to compute delta P, I need to go for a number of procedure here. So I should try to subtract this kind of this template. This is kind of fixed with I here. That's the warp image there. And then I should compute the gradient of I there, the image there. I compute the Jacobian at P there. So note that this P will change every time, because the procedure, as we mentioned in the last slide there, each time we update the P there, right? And then I eventually compute this guy, and then we compute the Hessian here. So and so forth. And eventually compute delta P will update the P plus delta P here. So we repeat this many times. And this actually works quite well, and that's why no one touched that like for 20 years or so. So this is like a paper at 84. Until like 2004, actually people find out that they can improve it somehow in a pretty careful way. What's the problem for this guy is that it just have lots of operation each time. Many of these steps, after you warp it, you need to compute, for example, the Jacobian again, because you already warped the image at some new location. You need to compute it again. This new worker is trying to avoid this. What they do is like, okay, let me consider this warping like by P0 plus delta P as like a two-step, like a compositional algorithm, or like they call it compositional algorithm. In the sense like you think of like you warp the coordinate by with delta P plus P0 plus delta P, but you can also think of like you first warp the coordinate with P0 and then warp the coordinate again with delta P here. So you do it 2 times, right? So and note that like, I just want this kind of gradient or like this derivative equal to 0. And delta P is kind of a dummy here, so I can say like my delta P go to that direction, but I can also have delta P as a opposite direction. I can consider minus delta P also. So I can also say like this one should go to 0, or like the derivative of this one go to 0. And if you look at this way, then rather than warping the original image or the coordinates of the original image by P0, then by minus delta P, I can also consider like I warp the first image with P0, but I warp the template by delta P, right? So if we do that, like this is actually a bit magical as you see afterwards. So if I do that, I can repeat the same thing here, but then instead of warping the image, okay, I have P0 here, I have like, this is like delta P. I can do the Taylor series expansion again, but I'm not expanding at P0 now, I'm expanding at 0 here. That's the nice thing, because remember the P0 we change with every step in the original KLT algorithm. Here, like, this is not going to change. As you see later on, this is not going to change. Therefore, once we compute that, it's not going to change. So we can do the same thing. I just won't bore you with these steps here. But eventually, like, you can again solve for h, right? Solve for delta P here. And it's equal to that. And I have another h here. H is equal to this guy here. I have something very similar to like previous the original expression, but you see like many of this is like warped by 0 now. There's basically no warping instead of like by some P0 in the original derivation. So now like look at this kind of like new algorithm there. I have again trying to find delta P here, but if I look at like step by step how I get my delta P here, I start with like warping the image again like by some WXP here to form this guy here. Then I subtract this template here, and I need to compute the gradient here, but I only need to do it once. Like in the original algorithm, like this is actually a gradient of I with warping with P. So every time like I change the P, I need to compute that again. And then I try to compute the Jacobian here. Again, I only do it once. In the original one, that like is this P, this Jacobian is computed like for a different P there. So therefore, like we needed to do it many times there. And then like, again, like this will be only once again, and then eventually compute the Hessian. It's also only did once, so this guy only did once, and then like we have this guy here, then eventually compute the P and so on. So now this, if we move stuff that only do it once, then we can like separate the algorithm into an initialization step and also looping here. So initialization, we're trying to compute gradient of the template, and then and so on and so forth actually. Yeah. And basically we pull many stuff out of the loop here. The main thing is like everything here in the original algorithm you actually need to compute repeatedly. In the original algorithm is basically in the loop, but now it's not. So this is the kind of block diagram, the entire algorithm, or the entire modified KLT algorithm. So you have basically have a template. This is something you're trying to track, right? You can think of like this template is you have first frame, then the next frame, then you can have, for example, the template just like grab it from the original thing. You know where's the object there. You get the bounding box that is the original object there. Then you in the next frame you have get the approximate location of that image there, and you start with, let's say, assume no warping, right? Then I need to compute the image gradient for that part there, and then like let's see, here I need to do some warping of that image. So this one, this one I need to do it multiple times because it's depend on P here. But this one here, I do the gradient for this guy here. Actually, I only do it once, I think. And Jacobian also only do it once. Then eventually I compute this one is the gradient I multiplied by the Jacobian, and then I found the computer hashing. And what I want to point out mainly that you can, if you're interested, you can read it more carefully. This everything here you only need to do it once basically. And then like the other parts here you just so only this part here you need to, when you update the P here, so therefore like here when you update the
is that once per frame?
Yes, once per frame, yes. So in the next frame you get take the new image, but this you will repeat multiple times per frame also. So therefore, it's much more effective than the original algorithm. So okay, anyway, I guess I know this is a little bit intense, like for kind of a short kind of like a little bit more than half hour like lecture. So if I try to find implementation for this one, okay, I think like there's implementation here, but I didn't check it again. So, but I cannot find an open series implementation like for this general algorithm. Of course, it has the Lucas kind the optical flow. That is essentially what we talked about last time. Is actually a special case of this KLT algorithm. I don't know, if I have time I may try to implement that, and if I see that it's not too difficult to implement, it may become a homework exercise, but we'll see about that. So okay, I actually a little bit fast. Any questions here?
The warping, is that just basically cropping?
No. The warping is like not exactly. You take here it may not illustrate very well. So the warping maybe I go back to one of the slides here. Yeah, you have like all kind of combinations. All kind of choices you can pick. So what we talked about last time, for example, optical flow is like we only assume the translation basically. So, but here like it's general, like you can have all kind of different possible transformation here. So, for example, I can have a little bit extension that like I can have my image not just like translate but also rotate. So then I will have parameters, not just txty but also a theta parameters. So and the warping, like the key point here is like the key idea here is like I want to find these warping parameters, right? So I have a model like to warp like my current image or like current image into like warp like the template there. And then I want to find what kind of parameters will match with that template there. So and then what kind of model you want to use, it depends on the application basically. If you think that like it only up to rotation, it won't have like too drastic, I don't know, shear or like, or of course you can go all the way to projective transform that you have more parameters there, but.
So if we're looking at a
Yeah.
video
Yeah.
or a series of images
Yeah,
and we're tracking, because that's what this is about, right? Tracking.
yeah.
Then what we're trying to do is characterize the movement.
Yes, but movement alone is not sufficient because you remember like some example like for example like this back flip here, right? Because you can have object that the motion can be rather drastic. So
Right.
yeah, so it can change like quite a bit from. Of course, you can say, okay, my frame per frame, the changes is not that much, so therefore, like I may get away with just using my previous frame as a template, just assume a rigid motion, just a rigid translation, ignore the rotation. I mean, I shouldn't say rigid motion, but just translation, but ignore the rotation, let's say, because I assume that it rotates only a very small degree for the next frame. But what this algorithm is saying is like much more general. So therefore, what I'm saying, like, it depends on application. Therefore, for example, like if you cannot process as many frames per second, that's lots of trade-off you can do, right? For example, I can only process like 5 frames per second instead of like 30 frames per second. Then my motion, like frame by frame, can be much more drastic, right? So then in that sense, maybe I can get better result to do this, adding just one more parameter, adding rotation. That will give me quite a lot of gain there. But or maybe like I can do like 30 frames per second, like even using like and my hardware, as I can using a laptop, I can check pretty well. Then I can just assume no rotation. Then it will be more or less exactly like optical flow we did like last time. Or like you can go even farther. That like okay, I do like 1 frame per second, and that I'm tracking a person, it can like or like some object can change really drastically. So then maybe I can go all the way, have a kind of a check using a homography as the transform. So in that case, I can have many more parameters. Maybe like instead of 3, I have 8 parameters there. I mean, the nice thing about KLT is that it's very generic. So it gives you just a framework, basically, like algorithm framework. Like what kind of transform you want to do is just up to you. When you use different transform, maybe I didn't emphasize enough here. When you use different transform, the difference is like you will have a different Jacobian, this delta P, W delta P here. Like you can derive this very easy, or you can just go for both. Like for example, like if you have affine transform, your delta P, your Jacobian will be something like that. Yeah. So, any other questions? So, if not actually, anyone figure out like my question I asked last time, like at the end, like, do you remember like what I said? How did I do that? Oh, and Logan, like you saw my email, right? It works, but okay, that's a remark like for the homework. Um, uh, if you try to play with your own images, uh, be more conservative. Uh, when you are not implementing RANSAC, like you make sure you have enough overlapping. If you have like overlap, I guess maybe less than half, it's quite likely you will mess up because I mean you not mess up, but you mess up like the algorithm mess up because the serve won't be perfect. Like it will match have lots of error in the matches. So very likely that if you just randomly grab some matches there and try to compute the homography, it'll be all wrong. So, but if you have like more than 3/4 or like even more like, overlapping of your two images, it's likely that like even without RANSAC they will do well. Yeah. So
So one of the
yeah.
functions you called to generate that list of good matches is KNN matches or something like this.
Yeah. Yes. Let's see if I can.
What is this KNN matches doing to determine which points are? Is it similar to like a RANSAC?
Yes. It's a kind of a.
Because I noticed
if I remember,
when I
like
run the program, the initialization part where you're just generating that list multiple times, I get different number of matches. So is there some kind of random component to that?
Oh, wait a sec. I should show this is the solution actually. Let me find the.
What's the difference in matches? So when I was running it, I didn't get a difference in matches.
Yeah, if I run it, what I mean to say is, when I run that first set of the code to get that list of matches, that match XY, sometimes it'll be a length of like 1,809, say, and then the next time I run it, it'll be like 5 different. Like it'll have a different length.
And then without that, it was one out, 1600.
That sounds about
I'm gonna
right.
put the file. Oh, here. Yeah, is that this one? KNN matches. Yes.
Yeah.
It actually it's a kind of a
Well, okay, I know I'm similar to
Yeah.
you, but I know how you determine duration.
right.
How do you determine that duration should be 0.6?
No, it's just I can't like this is you can put 0.4, 0.7 or something like that. I guess 0.7 is like quite widely used. Someone used 0.4, so I can't play in the middle, I guess. There's no very good reason, honestly. Yes, and about the KNN match, yeah, it is. I don't exactly know how they implement that, but it's just trying to find the top 2 matches, basically. Yeah, so I have this descriptor. It returns like the top 2. Wait a second. I think it's like wait a second. Yeah, matches. Oh, actually, I kind of forgot. Let's see if I can see the. I'm not sure this will run. Let's see if I can run. Yeah, I can run. So if I can run, maybe I can take a look of the KNN matches. don't remember like what do I have. Okay, maybe I need to do it. Okay. It doesn't have an autocomplete. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I think. Yeah, I think it for all points that you're trying to get a match. Yeah. So because if you look at the results is coming out from this KM matches, like oh, what I'm doing. Okay. Yeah, it is okay, yes. Yeah, if you just look at the results there, basically if each of the match, it gives you the Q index and also the, what's called that, like the train index, right? The train index is like the match for the other guy. So for each of the bond, I'm try to find the match for each of the QA index there. And here, like input 2 here, it gives the best 2 matches. Only give the best 2 matches. Yeah. So, again, like what? Anyone like figure out like how to do this? Like,
The question you asked?
I mean, like how do you combine these 2 images to stitch these 2 images together?
I looked at your code and I didn't quite understand what you did.
Actually, in this case, I just realized that it can, as Richard said, like because like one of the image here is actually I didn't make any changes there. What I mean is I didn't warp this one. So then potentially it's possible that like I can set the other image here for this part is equal to 0, then I can just add one of the image. But if turns out, let's say if I both images I need to warp them, then when I combine them I need to know exactly where I'm combining, right? Otherwise, or what I'm saying is like for the overlapping region, what I'm saying is like if I have one image here, when I add them together, so as I told you last time, like as a hint that like what we can do here, so what I did here is like we can renormalize that somehow, right? For the area that has no overlapping here, I can divide by 1, let's say. For that's like overlapping there, divide by 2. So then like then I can, but then like there's a question here, like how do we know where is I have a mask that like you should have a normalization factor of 2, where I have a normalization factor of 1 there. You see what I meant?
I see the question,
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
don't know
How
you-
yeah. So I don't have a name for this kind of trick, but I think like this is a this kind of trick that you can use it like for other problems as well. Like I don't even know how I should kind of give a general kind of description of like you just take advantage, I trade off like computation with like what I'm doing is I'm definitely not efficient, I think, but at the same time it's like efficient for me as a human. I don't care like whether it's like I need to be super fast. So what I'm saying like what I'm doing like exactly shouldn't be the optimal way of programming in terms of like efficiently compute this thing, like for example like, but what I'm saying like okay, what I can do is like I can just do the same, create the same image, or like not create the same image. I create an image same size of my original image, but it's blank. Let's say, right? It's just equal to just 1, have a value 1. I can do it for both images like this, Then I know what's the warping there. I do the same thing on this warping, this like kind of like my synthetic image. Oh, okay, you see like what I'm doing, right? Looking at warping now. So then then exactly I'm doing the same thing as this image. So it's still, no, I shouldn't say still, but like it's not very time efficient because I'm kind of doing warping to this synthetic image. But then I warp this synthetic image with like same size as my original image, but if pure 1, and I do the same thing for the other image, and I do the same exactly same step for these 2 images, and I do the same step for them to add them together, then what will I get? I'll basically get an image that combined image that like will be 1 like for where like they are not overlapping, then I have like 2 for where they will be overlapping, right? So now I can use that image as a normalization mask or something. I still have one bug here. If I just divide it here, though, I will get like not a number like for everywhere outside, right? Because where I don't have anything. But of course I can very simply fix it. Like for everything is outside, I will just set it to 1 or something like that. So that's how one you can do something like this. So okay, I guess I will just stop here. So I see you guys. Oh, okay, yeah. So you guys were going to present like next week. So be prepared. I guess what I'm going to do is I probably will use the camera and use my laptop just to kind of record like what's showing on the screen like this. Then I can terrorize back to Tulsa.